happy to report, in general, he's a good boy. You gotta go again. Hello, everyone. I'd like you to meet Meatball. He's my new puppy. He's 6 months old. He's a dachshund. And I'm happy to report, in general, he's a good boy. So when my wife and I were thinking about getting a dog, we knew there would be a lot of benefits. The ones that people talk about. We would be getting out the house more by taking him on walks. We would have a more regular sleep schedule because we're trying to stick to his schedule. And of course, we get puppy therapy whenever we want it. And all of those things have come true since getting Meatball, and they have been amazing quality of life improvements. But there was one additional benefit that I think almost nobody talks about that really caught me off guard. And that was talking to strangers. Now, you might be wondering, how is talking to strangers a benefit? Or you might even be thinking, talking to strangers, no, I actively try to avoid that in my day-to-day life. But here's what I noticed. Almost every time that I would take Meatball for a walk, I would end up interacting with at least one stranger, whether it was a passerby remarking at how cute he is, or more often than not, it would be another dog walker. Because Meatball would want to interact with their dog, we, the owners, ended up interacting with each other. And, we'd have a pretty standard dog walker conversation. Oh, how old is your dog? What breed is he or she? How long have you had them? Etc, etc. But what I noticed was that just this brief 1-minute interaction with a stranger would significantly improve my mood for the day. So, as a behavioral scientist and a psychologist, I was wondering, was this something that somebody has actually researched? Is this a known phenomenon in psychology? And that's when I came across the work of Dr. Gillian Sandstrom from the University of Sussex. And it turns out, it is. So I reached out to Dr. Sandstrom to talk to me more about her work on weak ties. Here's her explaining what those are.
I guess thinking about the theory, there's a few different people who kind of have tried to map out what kind of relationships we have in our lives. And like psychologists are mostly focused on strong ties, like that inner circle of people that we're really close to. And obviously they matter a lot. But then, there's someone named Tony Antonucci who thinks of, how we have that inner circle, but then there's like these outer circles with people that we're sort of progressively less close to. And Dunbar, similarly, Dunbar with his famous number of the maximum number of relationships we can have, also has like this concept of these different circles. And I think outside of the circles, we've got strangers. Those are people like you've never met before, right? They're not in those circles at all. So I think strangers are people that fall outside of even the outermost circle. Those are people that you've never met before. But then one step in, like just barely inside the circle, are people like nodding acquaintanceships, people that you recognize, but maybe you don't know their name. You might see them regularly or not. And all the way from there to something close to that inner circle, I think counts as a weak tie. It requires a mutual recognition, so that's how it's different than a stranger. But how it's different than someone in that inner circle is just, it's someone you're just less close to, less likely to sort of share things with. And so there's lots of variety in what a weak tie may look like.
So the concept of weak ties is absolutely fascinating to me. And here's Dr. Sandstrom explaining one of her most famous studies looking into this.
I wanted to study whether having more interactions with weak ties had some positive benefits, like made us feel happier, like it seemed to do for me, and made us feel connected. So I did a study where I had people carry around these clickers, little tally counters. So you just click and it counts. And so they had to carry around 2 so that they could count every time that they talk to a strong tie, so someone that they're close to, like a close friend or family member. And then the other one was to count any time they interacted with a weak tie. And then at the end of the day, they'd go to a little survey. They'd put in, the numbers on the 2 counters and then report sort of how happy they were that day and how connected they felt. And what we found is that people who have more weak ties than other people, those people tend to be a little bit happier and feel more connected. On days when any person interacts with more weak ties than they usually do, like if you normally interact with 5 and on one day you interact with 8, you tend to be happier on that day where you have more weak tie interaction.
So Dr. Sandstrom's research shows us that interacting with strangers is really beneficial for our mood. But what's also interesting is that there has been research that looks into how dogs affect our chances of interacting with strangers. So here's a paper that actually comes out of my alma mater, the University of Warwick, looking into this exact phenomenon, as explained by Dr. Sandstrom.
There's also research, and actually out of the University of Warwick, where I know you studied, about how it's not just suggest that the dog owner is the one initiating the conversation. So they thought, okay, let's do a study where there's a person with a dog, but they're not the ones starting the conversation. Do people talk to you more when you have a dog? And so what they did is they got a white male undergraduate student in his 30s, and he basically just stood in a bunch of different places. The paper says it was a small city in England. I'm guessing it must be Coventry since they were at the University of Warwick, but I don't know. So this man would stand for 30 minutes at a time in various places. What they did was count how many people interacted with him, whether that was non-verbally, so just people smiling and nodding, or whether they said something. In 8 hours that he stood in various places without a dog, 57 people interacted with him, which still sounds like quite a lot, I think. But he also stood for 16 hours with a dog, a nice black lab. And in that time, 1,113 people interacted with him, which is almost 10 times as much.
So for me, what is so pertinent about these two studies is the fact that, like a lot of people, since the pandemic, I've been working primarily from home. And while there are a lot of benefits to that, one of the things that you lose are those weak tie interactions, those chats with the barista as you order your coffee, those water cooler chats with the colleagues you don't work directly with. Those weak tie interactions might be more important for our day-to-day mood than you might think. And so I wonder if I didn't have Meatball to help sort of replace some of those weak tie interactions that I might have been missing, maybe I wouldn't have that many weak tie interactions at all. So whether you have a dog or want a dog, have a think about how many weak tie interactions you have on your average days. Is it a lot? Is it a little? And if it is a little, do you want more? And maybe more would actually improve your mood more than you think. Just something to think about. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
So the working title is How My Dog Is Making Me a Better Human.
And is your dog joining us on the call today?
He's downstairs. Might be a bit distracting.
I was hoping for a cameo.
Here he is.
Oh my goodness. Oh, look how cute you are.
Meatball.
Oh, hi, Meatball. I wish I could give you a treat.